Interesting dichotomy in the papers today. So the Examiner's front page is the perfect offload. Why Farrell to succeed Schmidt is a shrewd bit of business. So the rugby lads do it. It's a great plan. The soccer lads do it. It's like, wow, what a shower of jokers.
Well,
I mean, sorry, I'm not saying that that's what the indoor saying, but there's a general kind of sense out there that like can't do right for doing wrong.
Yeah.
Can't do wrong for doing right.
Maybe it's because this plan with Farrell, he's been in place.
Yeah, it's been a long-term plan. Definitely, that's a good point.
Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty much across all the papers today, the 2 succession plans.
Yeah. Interesting from the Independent here, they say that Lancaster's in demand as Farrell takes Ireland job. So Rory O'Connor has the story that there is interest from Bath in Stuart Lancaster. The English clubs are all about to get a massive injection of cash because they're selling a percentage of the league to a venture capital fund. So there's going to be an influx of money. At the same time, like Bath churn through coaches quite quickly, and I don't know, it would be brilliant for Irish rugby to keep Stuart Lancaster in the system if that was possible. Kenny, we must change the way we think about football, which is, I guess, for me, this is the biggest win here. It's that the outlook that Stephen Kenny has on life and the sense of what he thinks Ireland can be and the football that we can play, having that be part of the conversation all the time, as opposed to Trapattoni was like, these guys, you know, they're not champions. Even Martin O'Neill coming and saying, look, we just don't have the players at the moment. Stephen Kenny's like, the ball's the ball. Let's try and keep it. Let's try and be creative.
And he says in one of the papers here, I just was looking for it, if you play an attacking, attractive style of football, that the players will follow you and believe in it, and they'll get behind what you're trying to do. And how, like, in terms of, you know, sport is all about confidence. No matter what sport it is, if you're a confident player or performer, whatever it will be, you will play well and perform well. And if the man at the top is undermining you from the start, what kind of confidence does that give you? You know?
Yeah.
So I think it has to come from the top. The message has to come from the top. And Stephen Kenny, I've met him a few times at different kind of events, and he's a very thoughtful and a very intelligent man, you know, and kind of understated in a sense, you know, not a loud mouth and not one that would, but you could see there's a substance to him, you know.
Oh yeah,
an underwritten guy kind of,
and really ambitious as well. One of the things that comes in the pieces today is that he was at the Ireland-Denmark game at the Aviva, and I don't know if everybody remembers, but like the 10 minutes before kickoff, the anthems and all that stuff beforehand was like hair on the back of your neck stuff. It was amazing.
This is the one
we got hammered eventually. Yeah. But like pre-game, there's this real sense that this is what the Aviva could be like when it's full and when everybody's together and everybody's unified, and then obviously it falls apart. But he says pre-game that night he was with a couple of his kids, wandering around, having a bit of food, just kind of sensing the absolute anticipation. And he decided that night, I want to manage Ireland.
Right. And
you're like, well, you're going to get there at some point. Fingers crossed if everything works out. I don't know, it's not a very Irish thing to go, I want that thing, I'm going to go and get it, I'm going to do everything I can to get it.
No, but he hasn't come out and he's worked quietly and let his performances as a manager do the talking.
Yeah.
And that's an Irish thing, you know. But it's great to have that ambition, I think. I think everyone will have those ambitions, you know, whatever, like, personally and quietly, but it's nice to hear.
I think that's dead right, and I think that like having somebody like that from within Irish football culture rising to the top is actually only going to be good for us. So look, I can see why people might have some issues with the succession planning and the way it's been announced, but ultimately if it is the right thing in the long run...
You're on board?
Well, tentatively, right? Tentatively.
Fast forward to 2 years. I knew that was a bad plan. I said from the start that was a bad plan.
Oh, I'm definitely not going to do that. I think if it fails, it won't be because of Stephen Kenny. Kenny, Irish players will respect me, because obviously there was question marks about, you know, who would get the most respect on day one, whether or not it would be Mick McCarthy or whether or not it would be Stephen Kenny. And I mean, maybe that was an issue. Kev said that, like, certainly immediately there will be a galvanising impact on the players from having Mick McCarthy walk in, whereas with Stephen, a lot of the English-based players would have been like, what's the story with this guy? Who is he? You know, they would have been reserving
Surely
judgments.
that's initial. That's only in the first meeting or the first few days. But by seeing what you do on a training ground and how progressive your ideas are,
yeah,
that's where you gather the respect. Respect is earned, it's not given, you know. And who knows how it will play out. If the lads go out and Mick McCarthy's training, you know, he's training from a bygone era, that respect won't be long dissipating, you know?
No, I 100% agree with that.
Because that was some of the comments, was it Matt Doherty who said that training under O'Neill and Keane, I'd never seen it before, it was old, you know?
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't work on shape, we played a bit of football and that was it.
Yeah.
And
so the players are judging all the time, I guess.
Yeah. I fully agree with that.
And it's kind of like the kind of like precious little, these beings who have to like, precious footballers have to kind of be, they're a different animal, you know, they're not a normal human where like if anybody walks in as a sports person and you meet them, this is your boss now, you got to respect them. But why football is any different? Why should they get
a dispensation?
Yeah.
For being a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
I would agree with that. I think that you can understand the first second that it happens, that's going to happen. Mick has a little bit of grace period, whereas Stephen Kennedy doesn't have any grace period. But like the second, third training session, they're like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good. I'm interested in this," you know. So a lot of people are talking about it's an issue that he won't be able to be at the training sessions for the senior team, but that's not his job either. Like I wouldn't expect him to be at the training sessions kind of going, "Oh, geez, Mick, I wouldn't have done that."
Yeah.
That wouldn't work. So it's actually not an issue, I don't think. I
don't think so either.
Like I'd say he has his own ideas on how training should be run at this point. It's more about what is the ebb and flow of the international season, like how many games you need to get to, how realistic is it?
Preparing a team who you only get to see for short periods of time,
yeah.
I would say, and the travel as well, and working with a team within that, you know, that structure.
And so, I don't know, it's like, it seems to work in other sports, why can't it work for us? So the Irish Times is obviously leading with the rugby this morning. Eyebrows raised over Schmidt's clear intention to finish coaching. When the news was finally confirmed yesterday morning, it was sad if inevitable, says Jerry Thornley. The day had to come eventually and the man himself had prepared us for it. By far the most jarring aspect of Joe Schmidt's decision to step down as head coach was the heading under the IRFU press release, which read, "Joe Schmidt decides to finish coaching after Rugby World Cup 19. Maybe that's it. Maybe he is going to say, I've reached the pinnacle in my sport. I have all this information and I'm going to dispense it somewhere else, like underage rugby in New Zealand, or that's one aspect. The other is that immediately he's been linked with the Australia job, every job in France, every job in England, and it's like the Lions job. What's
an acceptable time frame or period of time for you for him to come back?
Like he can come back 6 weeks after the World Cup if he wants, because ultimately people make decisions and they change their minds, and that's fair enough. Like at the same time, you can see that it'd be a waste of his coaching talent if he never coaches again.
Yeah,
that would make no sense.
Maybe he's burned out. Maybe it's too much. But I'm sure, being the man he is and the success he's had, that there will be innumerable amount of opportunities for him in other walks of life. Who knows? Maybe you got to take him at his word for now.
Oh, totally. I absolutely. But at the same time, you can see a situation where New Zealand win the World Cup under Steve Hansen. He stays on for a year and decides, okay, I'm going to move upstairs to a director of rugby role, and Joe is the new attacking coach or the new head coach of the All Blacks, and nobody bats an eyelid. They're like, fair enough.
But even if he had said, if he had announced yesterday that after the World Cup I'm going to take over the New Zealand job or work within the New Zealand team and structure in some way, would it have been much uproar?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think everyone respects him for what he's done for Irish rugby.
Yeah, there was some sense that they couldn't be seen to be taking the job while coaching against.
Yeah,
but like,
does it really matter? It's not. I don't like. It wouldn't change your opinion. Like, it wouldn't change his approach, I guess.
No, and it definitely wouldn't change your opinion either. It's like,
no,
this guy.
It'd make an interesting dynamic if it did happen, but it wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would, like, obviously, we owe him a debt of gratitude for what he's done.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
You've been pretty good.
So.
What have you got in the tabloids?
Across the whole, all of them, there's the Irish Daily Star here. I'm the gaffer. Kenny insists he'll manage no matter if Mick's successful or not, that he's going to step in after 2020. So Damien Duff quoted it here as well, saying that he's unsure. That I find it strange, a bit mad. FAI Chief Executive John Delaney says his new pathway vision, hopefully it's a masterstroke, but we'll see. There are so many what ifs. What if Mick does amazingly well, gets us to the Euros, to the quarters, semis, or the finals? He has to stay on. That's what we spoke about at the top of the show, you know, it's just...
Well, at that point you pay off Stephen Kenny and you go, or you don't. I mean,
well,
what's the likelihood of us reaching the finals?
I'm hoping we qualify.
Yeah.
You know,
I know when we qualify, we have the games in Dublin.
That's it, yeah.
Let's see how well this group of players can do at that point.
So just like after the League of Nations, I've kind of detached. What's the pathway now for Ireland to qualify?
Well, so the draw will be made on the 2nd of December. At that stage, we'll be in the group, and you've got to finish in the top 2 in the group.
Okay.
And if you do that, you qualify. But we're more than likely going to be in a playoff. We can lose every game.
Third place playoff.
No, we can lose every game in the qualifiers, and because of the way the Nations League works, there's also like a backdoor system where all the teams who qualify get sucked out of that, and what's left is this remnant of crap teams, and we should at least, by virtue of the fact that we were in
that bracket,
in that second tier teams.
Story about Steve Staunton has emerged as a shock candidate to replace Stephen Kenny at Dundalk.
That would be a shock. That would be a shock.
It'll be interesting. It seems like he's been out of football. His last role as a manager was in League 2 with Darlington, 2009 to 2010. He left the club after they were at the bottom of the table. So,
yeah, a while.
But it seems like he's doing good work in England, work with underage players who have been released from clubs and helping them rehabilitate and stuff. So,
okay.
I don't know.
It's suddenly one of the best jobs in Irish football.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously the best job.
Well, they're in a
Irish
great position
beyond the international team, but it's become a stepping stone. They've got loads of money. They have a good playing squad. Their facilities obviously need an upgrade, but you can see that there's a lot of people who are suddenly interested in that gig going, ooh, the American owners have a bit of cash as well. So,
what else? Got the Sunsport again. As one chapter ends, another one out begins. Joe, it's time to go. Kenny, I can't wait. I can wait, it says. And it's pretty much across the board, all the tabloids. Same headline here, Merispot. I can't wait. Little pun there. Stephen, I'm taking over August 2020, and that's final. It's in writing. So hopefully, it seems like he's got assurances within his contract that no matter what way it goes, win, lose or draw.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
the manager.
I'm sure worst comes to the worst, there's always we can buy you out of that contract. It's just
money's not always the answer, Joe. And I don't think Stephen Kenny's a man who would, when you speak about like his desire to manage the Irish team
no,
after
it's a real
the game,
thing.
like I don't know if there'd be a price he'd put on it.
No, but if they decide that they want to keep Mick, right?
Yeah.
There's just you just pay up the value of the contract. Like, I mean, it's an expensive insurance policy, but it doesn't really feel like it's an insurance policy. It feels like it's a proper succession plan.
I remember reading it. I can't remember the actual figures, but I was reading Tommy Conlon on Sunday in the Irish Independent. He was talking about John Delaney and how the rugby, like the RFI, is RFI? Yeah, and the GAA, how they've grew in the last 10 years and the amount of profit they've garnered, where in the FAI, it's only been, I think they've had a gain of 2 million per year in that 10 years, and how John Delaney is the highest paid executive in European football. You know, it's. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about that?
I think that the FAI have been coming off a lower base in terms of the profitability, but they haven't monetised the product. They haven't grown the league in a way that they should have done. There hasn't been a focus on the League of Ireland the way there should have been. That's been clear that like the success that Dundalk have had has come in spite of the FAI, and the success that they had should have been the example for everybody else to follow, and the league should have been the thing that they invested most of their time and money in. Because if we had a league that was self-financing and was run properly, then there wouldn't only be Stephen Kenny who would be a candidate who you could kind of say, oh, this guy should be involved, and the managers of the underage teams should be like looking to get League of Ireland jobs, so that it's a springboard for them, and it becomes a springboard for players' careers, for football as like a product and as a pastime and as a passion point for fans. But so I think that the FAI definitely needs to start concentrating on that a bit. There was one final story that we wanted to bring up from the Mayo News. If we've got a clip from this, or the back of this, the Mayo News have an exclusive this morning that Andy Moran is coming back for another season. So not entirely unexpected, I suspect, given that James Horan was coming in and that they want to batten down the hatches and make one last charge. I mean, you have to love the Mayo footballers, right?
Yeah, but he's a class player, and experience is invaluable, I guess, especially under a different coach. He would need probably someone just to be a bridge between the two things, and a connection between the players and the coaches,
and to set the tone in training, that kind of stuff. That
he's a class player
that you don't actually see, that we never get to see, but it's hugely important to managers about culture and stuff.
What age is Andy Moran?
35, I think. Is that right? Is that what it says? Yeah, 35. So I mean, that's young, right?
I'm 34, so maybe I could get a game.
All right.